Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Arthur Guide. We're coming at you in the solo lane with Arthur, of course, because that is his best role. So we're going to be grabbing ourselves a Warrior's Blessing, a Chalice of Healing, 4 multi-pots, and we're going to be saving that last 300 gold, as well as our Relic. We don't buy our Relic in the solo lane at the start of the game, unless we are specifically buying not teleport. If we're not buying teleport, then we can buy our Relic at the start of the game. But if we're planning on buying teleport, then we save the active slot. So that way, if we change our mind and end up not buying teleport, we've got an opportunity to. And when we go back to the base, if we need to teleport, well, by golly, we're right there in the fountain, and then we can teleport back to the lane. So how about that? So we're going to be starting here over at our blue buff. The blue buff is really important for Arthur to get. So we're going to start here instead of lane, although it looks like Bologna is going to be starting over here. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm going to grab my 1 first here just to get a lot of pressure on the Bologna. Going to hit him with 1. 2 little abilities right there. This is actually fine. I'm not really going to lose that much time off of this, so I'm not worried at all. And she's not gonna gain like as much. Oh no, I was gonna say he's not gonna gain that much benefit off of this, except for he actually secured the blue buff. So now this is a disaster. So we got our level 1. Arthur is a multi-stance god, which means that all of his abilities have basically 2 forms, much like the way that they've got 2 forms on like Hell and Uller and stuff. Arthur does as well, but instead of having to use a ultimate passive in order to stance switch, every time you use an ability on Arthur, you switch to the other stance. For ease, this is going to be basically blue stance and orange stance, as indicated by the icons of your abilities down below. So our first ability has, of course, 2 different things that it does. That is going to be a line-based ability on our blue one. This is going to do damage through minions, through gods, all the way in a line. And you can, I guess I have to get back to it to show you actually what it does. Bada bing, bada boom. So you can see it does a bunch of slash damage. And so it's a little melee attack, and then you do a strike bonus damage. So you get the slash damage, you get the melee bonus damage, all sorts of good stuff.
Out of mana.
When you switch that over to your orange form, it is now going to be a sweeping attack in front of you. This sweeping attack is going to do damage to everybody inside, and it is also going to be a cripple. So it's going to be a 1.25 second cripple.
I'm returning to base.
Our third ability, which is the ability that we get here at level 2, is going to be our spin to win. Both of these are going to be spinning abilities. Our blue stance spin is going to be a much shorter distance spin.
How much more must I give for the strength?
Now we can back up, get that teleport. So our blue distance spin is going to go ahead and do a little bit of damage in front of us, and it is going to proc twice. You can see the standard right here. 2 cleave attacks while charging forward, and your enemies will have their protections reduced. So 1, 2, 2 individual strikes. On the orange form, it is going to just be a continuous spin. That continuous spin is going to hit 5 times plus do a final strike. So that spin damage right there, and then the final strike damage. You are immune to knockouts during the duration of this ability. Oftentimes over in the solo lane, what you're going to do is you're going to get 2 points into this ability. 2 points into this ability is standardly enough for it to clear the wave once you get your boots. And then you can focus on getting a little bit more PvP-oriented damage. So I'm going to use my spin just to kind of charge at this guy right now Just try to stay in range, give him a bit of a beat down, even though he's got that XP lead. Our second ability, which is the ability that we got here at level 4.
I'm returning to base.
It's also going to be the ability that we level up to max last.
This power is a gift.
This is our battle stop. This is where we're going to get a lot of our CC here on Arthur. So in our blue stance, it is going to be a slow around us. So we're going to stomp on the floor. It's going to do a little bit of damage. And those in our immediate vicinity are going to be slowed. In our orange stance, it is going to be a knock-up. It is a small dash in front of you. And when you hit the target, you're going to do some damage to them. And you're going to knock them up into the air.
Okay.
Finally, on Arthur, just like all of our other abilities, our ultimate also has 2 forms. But this one isn't dependent on what stance you are in. This one is dependent on how much ultimate charge that you have. So right there, that was our big ultimate on Arthur. How you know how much charge you have is, one, you can just look down at your abilities and you can see whether or not it is charged up, or you can look over at your sword, and the more your sword is basically built up, the more you are going to have this little passive on you. The more you get it built up, of course, you get your...
That's too bad.
You get your passive built up, which is your ultimate. Your max level ultimate is going to be a basically banish. You're going to launch somebody up into the air. Neither you or your opponent will be targetable. And you are going to do a bunch of hits on them. You're going to do 6 attacks, and then you're going to slam them down into the floor. Those 6 attacks will do a baseline damage, plus they will also do max HP damage per hit. In the smaller ultimate form, this is going to be a line-based damaging ability that is also a stun, and it can hit multiple targets. It's kind of a weird ability to actually hit. It takes a little practice. It seems like it should be fairly easy to hit, but it's actually quite difficult. So it's a little jab in front of you.
An enemy has been
You were
slain.
so good out there.
Do be aware if you're standing point blank right next to somebody. This ability is a small little lunge forward, and so you will actually miss this ability if you're trying to use it right next to them. You want them to be just slightly in front of you to actually hit this,
On my way.
because of the small little lunge. So if I use my ulti, you can see right there, that is the small version of our ultimate. Little damage in front of me, a little lunge. All good. Finally, we have Arthur's passive. Arthur's passive does factor into the rest of his kit.
Enemy missing. Out of my way, dorks.
Yoink, run away.
Gank right lane.
Arthur's passive. It's a beefy one. Every god, every time you damage a god, you get a stack of steadfast, reducing the damage taken and increasing the amount of energy that you gain. The energy that you gain is, of course, for your ultimate. What a bummer on that timing there for the Kumba ulti. So you're gonna get increased energy gain, and you're gonna have reduced damage taken. 1.5 per stack, bonus 20% energy gain per stack, and those last for 4 seconds. Each time you use an ability, you of course swap between your standard and combo abilities. And all of your abilities are instant casts no matter what. So it doesn't matter what these are actually set to. They are always going to be on instant cast. Your attack speed and item passives do not benefit his basic attacks. Attack speeds will strictly increase your energy gain. And no, it does not increase it at a rate that is actually worth for you to buy attack speed on Arthur. Now that we got some of his kit covered, he does have one of the more complicated kits in the game. we can talk a little bit about the build. So we've got the Warrior's Blessing, which is pretty standard over here in the solo lane. After our Warrior's Blessing, we wanted to make sure we had our boots online. It's going to be a really hard laning phase for us, so we're going to have to back a lot. The Bologna with the invade basically put us super far out of the game, where we're going to have to AFK for like 20 minutes right at the very start. So as part of that, it just means that I basically AFK and I get my boots. You can see that I'm down 3 levels. It happens. It's what happens when you get invaded at the start of a game. And so we're basically just chillaxing, AFKing, and clearing the waves. So we grab the Warrior Tab Ice, we can run back to lane ASAP. And then I'm going into a Sledge. Just gonna give me some nice general defenses right here. Give me some HP, give me some power. Just a nice hybrid item. As far as our upcoming item, we will be grabbing ourselves some nice physical defense. Try to help out. And then he waddled away, waddle, 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 till the very next day. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum. So we've just got to kind of chill. Hopefully our jungler comes over, but it doesn't look like it. Our support's trying to do what he can, but they're also going to Athena ulti over into this lane. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to wait actually to be able to afford my Sledge because I've got my teleport, and then I will teleport over to that lane. So Gladiator Shield used to be the go-to item. I'm actually not even going to teleport to lane, because if I teleport to lane, I'm going to die. So I'm actually just going to walk back to the T2. The go-to item on Arthur used to be Gladiator's Shield. But Gladiator Shield was totally changed, and it no longer is a sustaining item, which means you no longer grab it on Arthur. You can still get it later on in the build, especially if you get ahead early, because it can add a lot of damage to your kit. But not if you're behind. This game, we're probably going to be getting ourselves something along the lines of Void Shield is going to be great. This game is going to give me a little bit of defense as well as some damage. We're going to be looking, of course, at Stone of Gaia, one of the best solo lane items in the entire game right now, if not like the best. It's very, very, very strong. So that's the type of stuff we're going to be looking into. And they don't have that much magic damage. They've got an Athena and a Nuwa. And so we're going to be able to stack up mostly on those physical defenses. Gonna be standing back by our tier 2. Nothing much we can do here. We just gotta wait for them to get pushed up. Luckily, they're gonna win in every other lane, and so we're mostly just gonna be kind of AFKing over here. For our ability order on Arthur, I like to standardly get a couple of points in the 3 and then transfer over to the 1 for the PvP damage. But because I'm not going to bother basically fighting at all in this game, I'm just going to sit back. I've leveled up my 3 to max in order to just worry about the PvE. I'm not going to clear these waves at all. I'm actually going to let them last hit. I'm going to try to keep the minions as close to my tower as I can, killing the minions as they come into tower range to make sure that I get the gold. So I'm literally just going to try to hold the minions right here. Then just try to keep myself in range of these minions. That way the Bologna can no longer try to zone me out. As long as I'm getting credit, that is a W for me.
Your left tower is under attack.
So Arthur used to be one of the top solo laners in the game. He's still not terrible by any means. I would put him right about an A tier, where he's pretty much just standardly balanced, where there's nothing wrong with that. But because he lost that Glad shield, he really did lose a lot of what made him kind of busted. And so just keep that in mind if you're playing Arthur. An item that I do really like on Arthur when you can get away with it is going to be the Soul Eater, but you're just not going to be able to get away with a Soul Eater in a game where you are behind. So for our leveling order this game on Arthur, we have gone 4, 3, 1, 2. Normally, I would just get 2 points into 3, and I would level up 4, 1, 3, 2 on Arthur. So we're going to get ourselves into that Void Shield next, give ourselves some physical defenses, and we're going to be stacking up pretty hard on the physical defenses as well as the HP this game. So a Void Shield, we're definitely going to get the Stone of Gaia. And then we'll work into potentially a Contagion this game, maybe help out with some of the Hercules Neath healing as we get into the later stages of the game. For Arthur in his matchups, the number one thing you hate to go against, it's really a bummer that Daji cleared up my wave. So basically right now, I'm getting lucky that Bellona's actually clearing this wave. She's only clearing it because she wants to come steal my speed buff. Our Daji cleared up our wave, which means that I actually can't get credit for it. I was keeping the minion specifically back by my tier 2 tower so that I could get credit for the wave, but she had pushed it up, so now I've got to kind of put myself out of position just in order to grab a wave. So the number one thing you do not want to go against on Arthur is cripples. Cripples are absolutely detrimental to you because pretty much everything that you do is movement. You can see Bellona is last hitting again. This is why the Daji done goofed us out of all of that stuff, so we just got to kind of sit back. I actually can't walk up to contest. So cripples, RDO, anything of that sort is going to ruin you because you won't be able to use half your abilities. You won't be able to use your 3 at all. You won't be able to use your dash on your knockup from your 2. So stick away from cripples. They are an absolute disaster for you.
Nice job.
Also keep in mind that some of the newer gods like Cthulhu basically do what Arthur does but better right now, so watch out for Cthulhu as well. As far as what you're looking to go against on Arthur, Arthur really loves the matchup into squishier characters. So once you leave the laning phase, you get out of laning phase. If you can get out unscratched and go even, Arthur is so good at fighting the hunters, the mages, the backline characters. He's very much a dive-focused solo laner. So if you can try to get even or ahead, then you're able to go into the backline and focus in on this game. That would be their Neath, their Nuwa, those kind of characters. You're just kind of able to dive the backline and spam your abilities, and that's really where Arthur thrives, is against those squishier characters.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Gonna back it up, go get ourselves a nice Void Shield. For our relic this game, I'm going to get Blink. One, this is going to literally help me get back to lane a little bit in these cases where I'm getting pushed out. Secondarily, it's going to help me get into the back line. I've got a feeling I'm going to have a hard time getting through some of their front line this game. So it's going to help me get into the back line and go ahead and smash out a quick ulti onto their Neath or onto their Nuwa. Gonna help me get that good positioning out. If they had a team super focused on auto attacks or something, I would go into a Thorns, try to counter that, but because really their only true auto attacker is Neath this game, I'm not too worried about it. One of the most important things on Arthur, while a lot of gods have standard combos, right, where you basically use your abilities in a certain order, Arthur isn't so much like that. It's not so much a standard ability order on Arthur, so much as it is you want to make sure that you're always weaving in autos between your abilities. This is just because of how Arthur's kit works. You want to make sure that every time you use an ability, you can literally just keep your left click held down, and it's really, really going to increase.
Destroy the right enemy tower.
It's really going to increase your damage output. So when you're playing Arthur, Watch what I do right now. I'm going to hold down my left click. I'm literally going to be holding it the entire time. Left click, I press my 3. I'm literally keeping my left click held down right now. Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, wham, wham. You can see all of these abilities coming out with my auto attacks. You can keep it all the way held down so that you will always be able to get those auto attacks in between all of your abilities. It's going to, one, give you a little bit of extra movement, which is going to let you catch up to people if you need to catch up to them. 2, it is going to give you that increased damage. 3, it's going to help a little bit to throw in some extra time between all of your abilities, which is going to help you with things like cooldowns and mana to make sure you have them up all the time without losing any real damage output. So I'm going to start working on a Stone of Gaia right now. Got to give me a bunch of HP and a bunch of regen. And then we're once again going to go into more physical defense. Probably not going to buy that much magical defense this game. My magical defense will probably come in the form of a Spirit Rope, which is going to give me some percent mitigations, which will also help me against the physical characters. So right now, going against this Bellona, you can see that I'm weaving in those autos. I'm going to use my stun right here to help catch up a little bit to the Kumba. Going to try to get outside of the range of that Athena ultimate. We're going to use our spin to go ahead and try to catch up to Bellona, but I'm not going to be able to reach him. So I'm kind of waiting for the Dodgy to land a pull. She does not land a pull. That's fine. Going to allow me to go back in on Bellona. Going to throw out the knockup, throw down the slow. Here we go. She up downs, which is super risky. Timing my stun right after the Kumbhakarna ulti to make sure I get the most out of that. Now I'm going to start moving away just a little bit here. I can go back on the Hercules here at the end of this. Going to cripple the Neath with my cone attack right there. Bellona has come back in. Going to land him a stun. And now we're spinning to win right on top of him. Going to be able to pick that up. And I should be able to zone out this Nuwa in the back line as well. We've got 4 members dead right now, which means we should be able to go ahead and pick up this Phoenix. Gonna move forward, that way I'm taking the Phoenix if our minions were to die. And it also puts me in a position where we can quickly grab that Nuwa. Now they're respawning in 5 seconds. So we're going to back up, not go for the Titan. They've still got 2 tier 2s up. So that's going to be a pretty tanky Titan. Plus with their respawns, we'd never be able to kill it in time. But we should be able to back up and grab ourselves a free Fire Giant. So a big part about Smite in general, it goes for the solo lane in particular because the lane tends to be a little bit more 1v1. But when you get behind, it's not the end-all, be-all of Smite. You just have to focus on farming what you can. So in the early game, we obviously got down really far because they invaded a blue buff, right? We got 0 XP. I missed a wave on top of the blue buff. They got the blue buff and the wave, which meant I was down about a level and a half from like 30 seconds into the game. So I focused in on farming. I made sure I got as many buffs as I can, a little bit of jungle farm. I held out my minions by my tier 2 tower. So if the Bellona wanted to come up and grab farm, she would have to put herself out of position. And now by the time we got to the 23-minute marker, we're only 1 level down instead of what were we, like 4 levels down or something earlier in the game, just like a crazy amount. So now that we've got all this, I've got my Stone of Gaia. I'm going to start working on a Spirit Rope. It's going to give me a little bit of CDR. CDR is nice on Arthur, but I do not think that it's super mandatory. Get yourself 10, 20%, and you should be all fine and dandy. Mostly just working on a little bit of hybrid stats. So I like the Sledge because it gives me a little bit of power. The defense is the Void Shield, it's a little bit of power. And defenses, I do like to get those hybrid stats going more than anything. And honestly, on every solo laner that I play right now, I buy a Stone of Gaia. I just think the item is that good. So for my job in these team fights, as we talked about earlier, my job is to dive, 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 and be as annoying as possible. A big part of Arthur is his movement. He has a lot of movement. This means that oftentimes you don't need to just go full ham and tank everything to your face, because you can actually get away with being kind of cheeky, and you can use your abilities to kind of slide to the left, slide to the right, and avoid a lot of damage. Avoiding damage is oftentimes better than being tanky in Smite. So keep in mind, because you've got all these spins, because you've got all these dashes, you can just slide to the left, slide to the right. And if you avoid all that damage, it's gonna buy your team so much time in the backline. You don't necessarily have to kill their Neath, have to kill their Nuwa in order to keep them out of the fight so that the rest of your team has a 4v3. While you are yourself having a little 1v2, and even if you don't kill them, you're just trying to kite them around and make sure that they can't really participate in the match. So as far as for the rest of that build, we would of course finish up our Spear Robe, which would have given us some of those percent mitigations. I probably still would have gotten an Oni Hunter's Garb because I didn't have a true magical defense item. I probably would have gotten the Oni Hunters when I sold my Warrior's Blessing, because it would have given me the magical defenses, but it also would have given me the percent mitigations on top of my Spirit Robe, which would have allowed me to be even tankier to the physicals. So we had 214 physical protections. That's about where I kind of want them. I don't want something really above that 250 marker, because then you just start getting super wrecked by like Atalanta's bow and all the percent pen. So I liked also having the HP 5, having the additional HP, and then you throw in those percent mitigations, you get super tanky. I could have gotten away with a little bit more in the cooldown department. So if you want to throw in something that gets you a little bit more cooldown a little bit earlier, like a Soul Eater, that would be great, but only get that Soul Eater if you're ahead in the early game, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get away with the extra damage oriented build. Something I also could have done is even gotten a reinforced Greaves to get a little bit tankier in the early game and put away a little bit of that physical power until later in the build, guys. And that is your Arthur guide.